Ayy, badass black girls, and they making big moves. Ayy, badass black girls, nothing that you can't do. They are the future, I'm trying to tell ya. They want the best, no time to settle. They got the strength to handle the pressure. These are the queens, nobody better. Yeah, changing the narrative, that is imperative. They about to rock this. Tell the women that you got this. Got no time for people who are toxic. It's all love, good vibes. You know I got your back, girl. Talking issues that matter. This is badass black girl, yeah.
Everyone, welcome to another episode of Badass Black Girl. And guess what? We have another Badass Black Girl with us. And it's my pleasure to introduce Yves Marie. She's actually going to tell us who she is. I know who she is, but you don't, or maybe you do. Well, let's hear what she has to say about herself. Yves Marie, how would you introduce yourself to our audience?
So my name is Yves Marie Exumé. You may know me on social media as Ep.3. I'm a travel blogger. I was born and raised in Haiti. So I'm a world traveler. I have 33 countries under my belt as of now. Because of COVID, my plans were canceled this year, like almost everybody else. And I'm a translator by trade. I'm an auntie. I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, I'm a friend, and I'm also a wife of 15 years.
Amazing. I mean, when I think about you, when your name pops up, I'm thinking three things. First, I'm thinking amazing because I think you're such a great individual and someone everybody should want to know. And I think that you're a thinker, because with everything going on, all those exchanges that people are having about what's going on in the world right now, COVID, of course, but also other issues that Black people around the globe are facing. And I'm thinking to traveler, because I know that's one of the big things in your life. And I think that those three things put together makes such a wonderful package. And sometimes I'm thinking, oh my God, I want to have her life. And I think this is so great. So my first question, you've been traveling around the world, and I can't believe how many countries you've been to. You said 33. That's a lot of countries to visit. I wanted to know a little bit more about that experience, particularly as a Black woman. I know that very often we get particularly conscious of who we are, what space we occupy, particularly nowadays. So tell us, how is that for you to travel to all those places?
I think living in North America is good practice. So anyone who lives in Canada, in the US, and in some places in Europe as well, that gives you a good practice into what it is to step into a world where you don't look like everyone and where everyone is either curious or afraid of you. So being a woman first, of course, I have to pay attention to what I'm wearing, the way I come across in certain cultures. And also being a woman who travels alone, I have to be extra cautious when I'm moving about the world. Being a Black woman on top of that means people are curious about my hair. So I wear my hair in a fro. I've been wearing my hair in a fro for about a good 8 to 9 years now. So whenever I travel, people will be curious, people will ask to touch, people will ask questions about my hair. It's not a foreign thing to me to have random strangers asking me to take a picture with them or asking me if they can take a picture of me. And these are the nice ones. Sometimes I'm just walking around and I feel like somebody's following me, and it's actually somebody with a camera taking a sneak peek of me. So there's that as well. You get used to it. Sometimes it can be a little uncomfortable, but as long as it's not done in malice and I don't feel unsafe, I would say 90% okay with it.
Wow, that's so strange to me, to have a random an unknown body getting so close to mine and touching my hair. I'm like, oh, okay, don't touch my hair. But I guess we do get used to it after a while. Do you find it annoying, or you just don't care about it anymore?
I still think that it's a little bit annoying and a little bit weird, actually. It's kind of weird because I don't go around asking people whose hair is different than mine if I can touch their hair.
Oh my God, I've been tempted to do that. I'm going to confess. I've been tempted. I mean, when I first moved to the US and I attended college in the US. I went to Berry University, and everybody was wearing their hair differently. And I did not approach anyone. I certainly did not touch anybody's hair, but I was curious. I wanted to know, I wonder if her hair feels like my Barbie doll, or I wonder if when I saw people with dreadlocks, I really wanted to know what that felt like, because I mean, people wear dreadlocks in Haiti, but I never had the opportunity to really touch it to see how it felt. And of course, I didn't ask anyone if I could touch their hair, because it's such a personal thing to. It would be such a personal thing to do. But I was tempted. Am I weird?
You're not weird for being curious. Curiosity is a good thing, right? Curiosity is one of the driving forces behind me traveling the world. I'm curious about cultures. I'm curious about how people live. But I think that curiosity can be exercised in a respectful way. And when it comes to touching people's hair, touching people in general, it's such an intimate thing to do that I just don't approach people that I don't know and just randomly ask them to touch their skin or touch their hair, right? I do have friends who are non-white, who I'm really curious about. And when we get close enough and we talk about those things, I may ask, can I touch your hair? Because I've never, I just wonder how it feels. You know what I mean? But there's a level of intimacy, there's a level of familiarity that I have with those people that allow for such questions.
And that's what a lot of people don't understand. It's not about the touching of the hair per se. It's how you approach it, and the idea that, I mean, how dare you think that it's okay for you not to know me and touch my hair, right? Which leads me to my next question, which is about safety. You mentioned that a lot of times you travel on your own, and that the fact that you're a woman traveling on your own and you're a Black woman traveling on your own, it makes you kind of a singular individual to meet, right? What do you do to stay safe during your travels?
So I was born and raised in Haiti, right? So my notion of security and safety is skewed compared to the rest of the population where I live, right? So I would say that my background as a girl growing up in Port-au-Prince has helped me a lot. So I think I can identify danger in a way that most people who live in North America, for example, may not be able to. I also am very careful because of my upbringing, right? So not staying out late is something that I carry with me up to today. So I only stay outside late in cities that I'm really familiar with, or in cities where I am comfortable in. So let's just say that in Panama City, I didn't have a problem going back to my hotel at 10 p.m. on my own. But I wouldn't do the same thing in, let's say, I want to say Lebanon, for example. I wouldn't do that because the culture is kind of different. A woman on her own is not perceived in the same way, and I don't speak the language, so I wouldn't even know how to ask for help, right? And there's the regular things, right? When you go out, you make sure that the drink is poured in front of you. You make sure that you are not inebriated to an extent that you don't have any control about what's going on around you.
Mhm.
And it's kind of a sad thing as well, because a lot of times there are things I want to experience, but because of safety issues, I stay away from them. Like, I would love to go to a bar and just drink and have fun and not worry about safety. But the reality is, I'm responsible for my own safety, and I have to do those things.
I like the fact that you mentioned that growing up in Haiti kind of prepared you for that lifestyle that you adopted, because that's something that I discuss with friends all the time. The fact that I do feel that I have something that I can leverage that other people might not, which is this awareness of danger, because we grow up thinking about danger all the time. Part of your daily ritual when you're planning your day in Haiti is, okay, how am I going to be safe today? Because things happen unexpectedly. And I traveled a little bit, certainly not as much as you have. I lived for a few months in Bolivia, for instance. And a lot of the things that you shared with me, I can relate to. This idea that you need to know the place. You need to know what you can do and what you can't do. At what time is it appropriate to go out when you're on your own and stuff like that. But one thing that I've noticed on your post on Qui Poudre is that very often you also try to kind of experience the culture of those countries, not as a tourist, but you try to really get into the way the everyday lives of the people that you meet. And it's something that I really enjoy doing myself. When I was in Santa Cruz de la Sierra, I wanted to hang out with the locals. I didn't want to do touristy stuff. I wanted to see how people really live there. So tell me a little bit about that, about your approach to experiencing someone's culture.
First and foremost, I have to say that it's the cheapest way to travel. If you travel and you go eat where the local eats and you sleep in the neighborhood where they live, it's the cheapest way to travel. So that's one of the biggest things. It's cheaper, and it's also my preferred way of exploring things, because to me, a culture is expressed and is lived with the people. If you go, for example, to resorts, if that's what you do as a mode of traveling, in my opinion, you go to one resort, you've been to all the resorts, because it's kind of the same cookie cutter approach to tourism. Whereas if you go and eat where the locals eat, they themselves will let you know what you should eat. And that's an experience I really enjoy. And I haven't been to a country where we're eating at a restaurant and a local person doesn't ask us, where are you traveling from? And this is what you need to eat. So it is the easiest way for me to experience the culture through the eyes of the person who is living in that culture on a daily basis. Because what happens as well is that people tend to package their cultures in a way for tourists, and it's not really the way they live on a regular basis. If you've ever been to Labadie, for example, this is what you get. You get an image of Haiti that is not necessarily how the regular schmegular Haitian lives.
Exactly. Yes, very well said. And that leads to my next question, right? So we're talking about traveling, and people are always talking about traveling, whether they want to do it or they do it and they want to do it again. And now with a lot of places in the world kind of on lockdown because of COVID, certainly many parts of the United States, and I know that some of the restrictions have not been lifted yet in Canada either. People are still talking about traveling because they want to do it more once things return to normal. So how do you become a world traveler? I mean, what kind of job can someone hold to be able to travel the world? Or is it something that you can do if you plan it correctly whatever job you have. I'm really curious about that. I know you're a translator. I'm assuming it gives you a little bit of flexibility. Maybe I'm mistaken. So tell us a little bit about what are some of the conditions that we should take into consideration if we want to become a world traveler.
So the first thing is money. No matter how inexpensive travel can be, it has a cost. I mean, you need to pay for your flight, you need to eat wherever you go, you need to be able to sleep somewhere. Like, it does have a cost. Now, what you can do is minimize the cost, right? And that goes into whatever type or style of traveling that a person has. I'm a low maintenance kind of girl, so I don't mind getting in coach for 15 hours to go to Taiwan. Like, I really don't mind that. But some people like the luxury of first class. So if we're talking about the ability to buy a first class ticket versus the ability to buy a coach ticket, so there's that as well. There's the aspect of money and finances and the style of travel that the person wants to have. Personally, I have a 9-to-5. Both my husband and I work for the Canadian government, and we don't have children. So that makes our discretionary income a little bit higher than most, and I'm fully aware of that privilege. Had I had kids, I would have traveled, yes, but a little bit less because there is a cost attached to it. So going back to my 9-to-5, I have a 9-to-5 and I also have paid leave. And I also have a spreadsheet with all my paid leave and my days off and the statutory holiday just to maximize the amount of time off I have, right? So I have to worry about two things: the cost and whether or not I have the time to travel. And other than that, once you have that on lock, just book the flight and go. And my biggest advice is don't wait for people. If you want to go to Paris, hop on a plane, go to Paris. Don't wait for your boyfriend. Don't wait for your husband. Don't wait for your best friend. By waiting for people, you're just delaying the pleasure you're gonna have or you could have had on your own. Does that answer your question?
Yes, absolutely. And speaking of expenses, are there places where you found that it's a little bit more difficult to gain access? What I mean is, if you're traveling, you're going to need a visa for many of those places. What are some places that are particularly difficult to get into?
It depends on the passport you hold. If you travel with a Haitian passport, you need a visa to get into, I would say, 3/4 of the country on the planet. So that makes it a little bit harder for you to obtain visas and stuff like that, right? I travel with a Canadian passport. Most of the countries I go to require either no visa or a visa upon arrival. Some of them I can apply for the visa online. There are actually only 2 countries that I've been to. Well, I've been to one and I haven't been to the other, where I've had to put together a dossier and bring it to the embassy and get my dossier analyzed. The first one was Brazil 4 years ago, but right now that's no longer necessary, both for Americans and Canadians. The second one was China. I was supposed to travel there earlier this year, then COVID happened. So for those 2, I literally had to put together a dossier the same way somebody who has a Haitian passport would apply for an American passport. Same thing. Like, it was crazy the amount of paper and photos and whatever, like, you know what I mean, that I had to put together to bring it there. It was only a arduous process because I hadn't done it in a long time. So yeah, so the passport you carry to travel is a big indicator. Like right now, the US passport isn't worth a lot.
Right.
A little bit.
I know this, definitely. Tell me your favorite country to visit of all the 33.
Okay, we're gonna put Haiti aside. we're gonna put Canada aside because I'm biased towards both because they've both been my home. I think that one of the best trips I've had was in Cuba. Another great place I've been to is Lebanon. And I think they're both up there. I don't know which one was best. It's very hard for me to pick a favorite place, but these are places that I would certainly go back to.
Why?
Like, for sure. I found Cuba to be very close to Haiti in terms of culture. And also, my grandmother was born there, of Haitian parents, but she was born there. So there's that little attachment as well. But Cuba is a beautiful country. It reminded me a lot of Haiti, and the people reminded me a lot of Haitians. So very friendly, hardworking people. I would go back there in a heartbeat.
What about Lebanon?
Lebanon is kind of the same thing. I got to Lebanon, which is very strange because I don't even speak the language. All I could do was smiling and pointing and hoping for the best. But we had the best time ever. I traveled there with 3 other people, my husband and 2 other friends. We just had the best time ever. And the food was amazing. The weather was great. And people actually knew Haiti. When we said we were from Haiti, people knew. So that's always a plus as well. If I go somewhere and I say I'm from Haiti and the people can tell me, oh, I know where that is, that's a plus. So, and also there's that history, right, between Lebanon and Haiti with the immigrants and stuff like that. So there's a little bit of that made me really fall for the country.
Now that you cannot travel as much as you would like to, how do you feed that craving?
YouTube videos. YouTube videos. I think it's the National Geographic's Expedia. Like there are major travel brands who have amazing YouTube channels where, let's say, I want to see what Lisbon looks like because I haven't been yet. So I just look at that video and it makes me feel like I've been there. It also helps me build my list of places I want to see while making me, it's a fake experience, but it is a good experience when I can't do it. The other thing I'm doing as well is ordering in food from restaurants from various cultures. Food is very big for me when I travel, so being able to order Senegalese food from the local restaurant is amazing. It just makes me feel that for an hour or 2, I'm somewhere in Dakar having fun. So that helps as well. The third thing we're doing is just local traveling, right? So exploring the province where we live a little bit more. Local travel is travel. I just want to get it out there. You don't need to put a stamp on your passport to consider it traveling. So this year we're going to 2 different locations in Quebec that we haven't been before. So that's going to be a whole new experience and it's going to be fun as well.
Well, happy travels. I'm so excited for you, and I'm looking forward to your next post, your next report on your experiences. I know things have slowed down, but you're keeping your positivity.
You have to keep busy. I mean, you have to keep your spirits up, right?
Yes.
And I don't think I told you what a badass girl is for me. Have I?
Oh, tell me, what's a
I
badass?
haven't told you that. So I had to think about it a little bit. But to me, a badass Black girl is a girl who lives her truth, who loves herself, and who's not afraid to let her light shine.
I love that. I love that so much.
I had to think about it, but I came up with something good.
And I think you fit that definition so much. I mean, I'm so happy you came today and talked to us about everything you've done. And I'm definitely taking notes in terms of things I need to start thinking about so that I may become a bigger traveler and follow in your footsteps. So
Oh, thank you. Flattered and honored.
Thank you so much, Yves Marie, for making the time and coming to speak to us today. Any last word before?
Any last word is, I think that COVID has taught us something, is that if COVID has taught us something, is that life is short and we can't really keep on postponing our plans. So the decision I've made throughout this entire ordeal is to continue to live my life to the fullest. I've pretty much lived a life where regret has no place, because I've tried to do everything that I can to do everything that I wanted to do. And if COVID has taught me something, is to keep on doing that. So people, book that flight whenever it's safe to travel and go see the world.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I hope to see you again soon.
Yes. Stay safe. Take care.
You too.